the review of Algebra 2. And let's take a look at number 17. I saw a better way that we could look at these on Desmos. If I look at number 17, you had if you graphed them like how I was telling you, 9 raised to the 2x, and then I did y equals 27 raised to the x plus 1. It kind of gets hard to know that it's going to cross at 3. Okay, so another way that you might be able to trick these into working on Desmos is if I have 9 raised to the 2x, and if I just type in the equation as it sits, equals 27 raised to the x plus 1. Did I type them in right? So here is a question. So did I type them in both right? Yeah. So why did we get one of the answers over here to be 3 or negative 3? And then when I type it in the other way, equals 27 to the x plus 1. So if I look here, I have this green vertical line, and let's make this darker so we can see it a little bit. So there's 2 different answers, and so that's 1, 2, 3. So it appears that it's 3 for an answer, but this gave me an answer of negative 3. So let's verify which one is truly the correct answer. Yeah. Oh, x equals negative 3, so what is sure. Yeah. So number 17, if we had this as our equation, so what we're going to do is let's use algebra to verify what the answer is, because right now we might get this if we did it one way, we might get this if we do it the other way. Obviously, those are 2 different answers. So which one is truly the right answer? And this is what we have to look at. Let's make 9 3 squared, right? And so then this becomes 3 squared raised to the 2x. So this is a power of a power, which means you multiply the exponents. So this becomes 3 to the 4x. And then if I were to take this, 27 is the same thing as 3 times 3 times 3, which is 3 to the third. Oops, 3 to the third. And then that's raised to the x plus 1. So again, you have power of power here. So then you multiply 3 times x plus 1. So if our bases are truly the same, which and now they are, we've modified it. So we can say, well, 4x is equal to 3 parentheses x plus 1, distribute 3 over. So I get 4x equals 3x plus 3. So if I subtract 3x from both sides, I get x is equal to 3. So this verifies that this was the answer. So sometimes the graphing showed the wrong one. And I'm not sure why it's showing the wrong one at this point. But I would say the nice thing is if you did use the Desmos and you showed this portion here, so you got rid of these 2, if you went ahead and just plugged the problem itself in, that verifies that the answer should be 3. Algebraically, we showed it. So there was some discontinuity of why it went a different way, and I apologize for that. So I don't know. Yeah, sometimes I make mistakes. So if you did 18 the same way as we just did this, you're going to verify that it works. If you did 19 the same way, if you did 20 the same way as just setting them equal to each other, I'm curious what would actually show up. Those both should have graphed. So let's do 20 both ways and see if that we can break that one to work. So we do type this in first. We get that one, and then y equals 100. You can't really see the answer yet unless we zoom it out a bit. Okay, so that shows, that's giving us a verification that 2.861 is the answer. But let's see what would happen if we typed it in as normal. Let's see, I get 5 raised to the x is equal to 100. Yeah, that one actually, that did work as well. So let's zoom back down here. I'm just wondering why it's not showing me the intersect. So I guess the way that we just showed it did indeed work both ways, which is fine. And so that looks like, so I would say if you have unlike bases with exponents, set them equal to each other so you can find where it crosses the x-axis. If you have problems that one side has an exponent, then you can just graph it like normal, where you have y equals the left side, y equals the right side, and you just find the intersection. So they would both work on that. Are there any questions about what we have done with any of those? Seem okay? Okay, so on Schoology, let's go to Schoology. On Schoology, I just want you to be aware that our first quiz will be on Schoology, and it's going to be for you to do over the weekend, which is courses, business calc. So this is our very first quiz. Okay, it does open today at 3 o'clock. So notice on some of them you have a blank, so you'd have to go ahead and try and figure out how to factor it. But I want to show you a couple ways on the factoring. If you get stuck on the factoring, if you're not good at the factoring, I want to show you how it's going to work out a little bit better each time. So again, you're typing in sets of parentheses and like, x plus 2 and x plus 7 or something like that. So these are all factoring types. This one you actually are typing it in. So if you, it tells you, it says choose the symbol below from the toolbar to type a math answer. So I don't have the toolbar necessarily there, but what we can do is under the equation, there are things that you could plug in. I don't know if you would necessarily need to do that. So on this one, you would, say, oh, okay, I could factor a 4 out. I could factor an x squared out, things like that. So it says use shift 6 to make it an exponent. So that's how that type of, that's not the exact answer, but that's what would take place with that. Again, please factor. Okay, this might be one that if it doesn't factor apart real easily, which it doesn't look like, it looks like you might want to use synthetic division on it. Oop, back page, sorry. So the synthetic division. So what should I do with this problem to start my synthetic division? What do you think? How should I start that? I'd say graph it. Put it on Desmos. Being its raised to the third power, it should cross the x-axis 3 times. Okay? So you're going to use synthetic division on each of those roots in order to get to the answer. Okay? And so this one should be, something like this. Oops. This is not the exact answer, but you would have an answer that looked like this. So it could be something similar to that when you plug it in or when you type it in. Please note, because I have this lead coefficient that is not a 1, it means that one of the answers will probably be a fractional answer. I highly encourage you not to use synthetic division with a fraction or a decimal. Okay? Just factoring, solving. So you'd have 2 different answers. This would have 3 different answers. So as you go through this one, you would probably just type it right into Desmos and figure out exactly where it's crossing the x-axis. This one, plug it in exactly like it sits and find where it crosses the x-axis. This one you could easily do on Desmos. I would say take the left side and take the right side as y equals 3 to the x and y equals 125 and figure out where they intersect each other. You're given the x answer, okay? And notice it's multiple choice. So this would tell me if you're looking at the answer and you're like, gosh, it looks like it's pretty close to 3, but not quite to 3, well, then it's probably 2.875. Or if you're like, it looks like it's pretty close to 2 on the x-axis, but it's not quite, that's probably the answer. If you're like, it's a little bit bigger than 4, then that might be the answer. If it's pretty close to -6, that's probably the answer. So just go through and just use some logic. This one I would graph the parabola, and you're looking for values that are greater than 0, so you're talking about above the x-axis. This one you're just plugging in the particular things, and we'll cover a little bit of this today. So that's coming today. This is coming today as well, so make sure you're taking good notes on it. And then this is also coming today. And how many questions I got? A few more. This one, you can plug both of those equations just as they sit exactly into Desmos. You're finding out where they intersect at a point. So a point, that's why you have an x and a y component. And the nice thing is this is being recorded. So if you went back and you had this video kind of going, I'm trying to give you some hints about how to do some of the problems. This particular problem, you can actually type in exactly into Desmos. You type in this equation just as it sits, this equation just as it sits. You're figuring out the exact intersection point. So if you have 2 things that are crossing at Desmos, you click your cursor right about where that dot is, and it's going to tell you what the ordered pair is. And then number 20 is the last one. So this one, you're just typing in your answer. So this one, I would probably have to physically grade the problem. So if you don't see your score right away, it means there's a problem that I have to go in and grade. And any of the problems that you're typing stuff in, if you had made an extra space, like let's say it was supposed to be x plus 2 in parentheses, and you put space, parentheses, x plus 2 is going to mark it wrong, so I have to go in and hand grade it as well. So don't panic if something turned up wrong. It might have been because you put a space in there or something. Okay? So I am on, does everyone have a copy of the packet? Has anyone been able to go get the book yet? Cool. So you'll need to have the book by Tuesday next week, or I'd like it by Monday next week if you can. So if you come to class and you don't have it, don't panic. You still have that day to go get it. It's $5 in bare necessities, and that would allow you some opportunity to make sure you have it. And basically, the book just looks like red cover. It says business calculus on it. And just when you go and say, I need the book for business calc, they'll figure out which one it is. And you won't be ripping pages out of the book to give me. Keep it together as the spiral bound, and that'll work for you. We good? All right, let's do some teaching. Where can I sit? I'm going to sit over here, as long as I'm not in anyone's way. Am I in your way if I sit here? Can you all see the board okay? Okay, making sure. You never know. This big old head of mine might get in the way of somebody. All right. On the business calc on problem, so I am on algebra review number 3. Okay, and I'm taking a look at problem number 1. And they say, hey, we want f at -3. So we know that above they tell us that f at x is equal to 2x squared plus 3x plus 1. So anyone want to take a gander at what I'm supposed to do with this -3? Yeah, I plug it into all the x's. So f at -3 is going to be 2 plus 3 plus 1. Where those parentheses are located is where x used to live. So I'm going to plug -3 into each of those, do the math. -3 squared, -3 times -3, because it's grouped, it's going to be +9. 3 times -3 is -9 plus 1. So that gives me 18 minus 9 plus 1, which is going to give me 9 plus 1. So I get an answer of 10. Okay, and that's something that you probably had seen in algebra. But I want to look at problem number 2. Problem number 2 says this. And they tell us that f at x is equal to 2x squared plus 3x plus 1. So, friends, using the same thought process as the last one, what do you think I should do with this problem in order to figure out what it's going to come out to? What should I do with this? What should I do with c minus d? Thoughts? Keep it? I like it. Keep it and put it where? So notice this has x for this. So what am I going to do with c minus d? You're going to replace all of your x's with c minus d. So I get 2 parentheses squared plus 3 parentheses plus 1. Those parentheses is where x used to live. Now c minus d is going to go in for them. And what you could do is you can clean it up a little bit. So you have 2 times c minus d. You have 2 of them. Distribute over this one. And then the plus 1 comes along for a ride. We're going to use the 4-letter math word math called FOIL. Or if you are part of the Common Core movement, you multiply the products of the means, or you what do they call it? Double distribute. So what we're going to do is we still have parentheses, so I go c times c, which is c squared. C times -d is -cd. -d times c is -cd. And -d times -d is +d squared, plus 3c minus 3d plus 1. Go ahead and clean it up. So you get 2 times c squared minus 2cd, because there's 2 cd's. cd and dc mean the exact same thing. And then still have time to clean it up, so distribute over this 2. I'm going to get 2c squared minus 4cd plus 2d squared plus 3 minus 3d plus 1. And you take a look and say, do I have any like terms? The like term is the same letter. That letter has to have the same exponent. So I have a 2c squared. I don't have any other, so just bring it down. I have minus 4cd. I don't have any other 4cd or any more cd's in there. I have 2d squared. I don't have any other d squareds. I have a 3 and a 1, so I should combine those together. And then 2d squared, sorry. I don't have any more minus 3Ds. So this whole ugly scenario is what the answer would be. Now, some people might say, what order should you put it in? I think really whatever order you would come across, just know that if it was a multiple choice question, they might have it like this. They might have it written this way. This is the exact same answer. It's just they moved around the higher exponent values to be first, kept it alphabetical as you went through. So just know you can move them around. Yeah.
What happened to the 3C though?
3C.
3C minus 3D.
3C minus.
You just forgot to put it on the red
Instead
line.
of +4, it's just +1.
So if you scroll up to your red line, then the line before that.
Oh, I forgot. Oh, there's 3C. Oh my gosh. So that's a C. So that makes that the C. That makes that a C. And then Stirrup has the wrong answer. So this is the right answer here. Oh my gosh. I knew when I fell out of bed last night, I hit my head a little harder than I thought. Thank you about that. Sorry. So there's our answer. Okay. And then I want to go to number 4. Number 4 looks like this grandiose, oh my gosh, what in the world and why in the world would we have something that looks like that? So first thing we have to know is they tell us that g at x is equal to 4x plus 7. Okay? Did any of you take pre-calc? No one took pre-calc? You did? Do you recognize that? It's a definition of a derivative. It's the long version way of doing a derivative, which we'll get to some basic derivatives later. So what this means is I'm going to take this x plus h, and I'm going to plug it in for x. So I get 4 parentheses x plus h plus 7 minus actually what g at x is equal to, so minus 4x plus 7. Notice I put it in parentheses. I put it in parentheses because I had a subtraction sign. And then h, there's nothing to plug h into, so it just comes along for the ride. So I'm going to distribute here. Distribute the negative. Biggest mistake that takes place in Algebra 1. Forget to distribute the negative to both. Or you have stirrup for math, and I take everything away. Combine like terms. So this cancels this. This cancels this. I get 4h over h. Do you think the h's can cancel out? So this whole thing comes out to an answer of 4. So the first derivative of this, and I haven't even talked what a derivative is, but the first derivative of 4x plus 7 is just 4. But this is the long, drawn-out version of doing derivatives. Don't worry, I'll show you the shorter version of doing derivatives when we get into that area. Okay? And then I want to bounce down to, let's go to number 13. So they want us to write in this form, this is called standard form, we want to get to this type of form, ax squared plus bx plus c, but they tell us that we have an answer of 2 and we have an answer of negative 1/2. Okay, so we have to somehow come up with a way that we're going to put these into this form. Okay, so the first thing you have to know is this means x equals 2. This one means x equals negative 1/2. Is that okay so far? Then I want to make them binomials. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to subtract 2, subtract 2. So that gives me x minus 2. So that's the binomial that comes off of this. This one, I want to clear the fraction first. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. when I do that, those cancel. So then I get 2x equals negative 1. I add 1 to both sides. So that gives me 2x plus 1. This is the binomial that goes along with this. Okay? So let me pause. Is there any questions on what I just did up there? Okay? So from that point, what you want to do in order to put it in standard form is you're going to take the two binomials that you found and you're going to FOIL them together, or you're going to multiply them together. Okay? So if I multiply them, I'm going to get x times x, which is 2x squared. X times 1 is 1x. Negative 2 times 2x is negative 4x. And negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Those are like terms, so combine them. Okay? Now, this skill right here is the skill that I want you to know how to do when you, let's say I ask you to factor something. Okay, you still with me on this? And you're like, you're having anxiety because you're not getting the factoring. You still with me? Okay, so let's say I wanted you to factor, let me find one. So if I think of it in my head, it's not going to work. Let's say we had a problem like this. 5x squared minus 23x plus 12. Okay? This might be one that you, if you're not good at factoring, you might skip. Okay? So what I'm going to do is, if you get to a problem that you're not sure how to factor it, okay, I could spend 3 weeks on going over factoring, and then you would all dislike me. You already probably dislike me. So let's see. Oops. 5x squared minus 23x plus 12. Okay, so I'm going to go to our buddy and pal called Desmos. And I'm just going to graph that. Y equals 5x squared minus 23x plus 12. Okay? So you get, those are my two answers. You still with me? I'm looking at just the x component. So I come up with 0.6 and 4. X equals 0.6, x equals 4. I'm writing those up there so I can remember them. Does everyone feel comfortable with what I just did? Okay. So because we use Desmos, we can now say, okay, x equals 0.6, x equals 4. Still with me? Square across the x-axis. This one's relatively simple to figure out. All you do is subtract 4 from both sides. So you find that you have x minus 4 for an answer. Agree? The second one isn't quite as easy to look at. Okay? So we could do a number of things. Decimals are like second least favorite, where fractions are first least favorite. So if I multiply both sides times 10, I'm going to get 10x equals 6. Okay? So just know this. Is 10 and 6, is there a factor I could divide on both of those? Is there a number I could divide both of those by to get a whole number? 2, yeah. So I get 5x equals 3. Still with me? So what's the binomial for the red? What's the binomial for the red? 5x minus 3. So friends, Desmos just helped you factor. And I didn't have to go through the ordeal of going, okay, let's multiply 12 and 5 together to get 60. All right, let's list all the factors of 60. Oh, okay, I got 1 and 60, I got 2 and 30, I got 3 and 20, I got 4 and 15, I got 5 and 12, I got 6 and 10. And I think that's it, right? I just use Desmos to answer my question. And being that you always got to use Desmos in here, get the answer. Go for it. Okay? So, what I'm going to give you will be due on Tuesday next week. Does that make sense? What's due on Monday, or what's due Sunday at 11:59 p.m.? Yeah, there is a quiz. Where's the quiz located? Schoology. What can you use when you're doing a quiz at home that I don't see you? Shoot, any of your resources you have available. Cool? But just realize this. Some of the questions I have to actually go in and just manually grade real quick. So once you submit it, you can't see what your score is. I have to go in, and it's probably Monday morning. When I get to school, I'll go in and do a quick grade of the thing. And before school even starts, I will put a grade in the grade book. Okay? If you don't do as well as you thought you should do, if you don't do as well as you thought you should do on this quiz, come talk to me outside of class time. Cool? I'm not going to take up all your time. We'll just figure out a plan how we can get you to do better on it. Okay? So, sound good? But this will be due on Tuesday. This is on review number 3. I would like you to do, let's have you do 6 through 9. And let's have you do 12 and 14. And I'm going to give you the rest of the period to work on this. But again, this will be due on Tuesday. But do me a favor, friends. Remind me come Monday, because you know me. I'm going to forget because I like sniff glue all weekend, so I like lose brain cells. I'm kidding. I don't sniff glue. Sorry if I have too much sarcasm. But I also need to make sure, please get over to Bare Necessities and get the book. Does anybody need the book who also has $5 on them right now? If that's you, you're welcome to go over to Bare Necessities and get the book. Okay? So just do that. And then we're all good. Did I teach okay for this first week, or first 4 days, or 3.5 days, being we had a snow day or snow delayed start yesterday? So the book in Bare Necessities. And I'm going to abbreviate necessities because I'm not going to spell it right. And then Hannah would make fun of me. That's how we roll. So, sound good, friends? Kids.